Good evening, everyone. As many of you know, my name is Asia Branch, and I am your host of Speak On It. Now, as many of you know, when I come on here and I do my show, for the most part, I'm talking about different pillars of culture, right? So I'm either talking about entertainment, education, social media, or the fourth estate. This specific episode is about the fourth estate, hence the title, The Straw That Broke the Fourth Estate's Back. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've been following a lot of stories that have or involve the fourth estate. And in so many cases, we're learning that they're a part of several nefarious scandals, whether it be corruption, sexual predatory behavior, and some may accuse them of treacherous behavior, but that might just be reaching. I don't want to just accuse them of things because I don't like them. But what is proven? That they're involved in sexual predatory behavior, or at least covering it up. Well, this is one of my favorite pillars. I grew up watching a lot of news. I mean, I had a veteran in the household, so watching the news was just a part of my livelihood. And so to find out a lot of these things that we're seeing regarding NBC, ABC, New York Times, or how so many people are covering up for sexual predatory behavior. Now, I don't see a lot of people coming out against a lot of the people in the fourth estate, with a few exceptions. And we're going to talk about those exceptions in a couple of segments that I have for you tonight. But the first segment that we're going to start with is microcosm. Now, I don't know if a lot of you know what that word means. I've heard it a lot over the past 3.5 years, almost 4 years, considering what's happening in society today. Now, as far as microcosm, I don't know the textbook definition, so I'm just going to summarize the term for you all. It's basically where there's an isolated incident, right? But it basically reflects society as a whole. So the first example of a microcosm for today's episode, I'm going to say it's The Morning Show, starring Jennifer Anniston, Reese Witherspoon, and Steve Carrell. I don't know if a lot of you have Apple TV. I do, and I watch the show because I like Jennifer Aniston from Friends, and I love Reese Witherspoon and Steve Carell. That show, if you ask me, has a lot to do with what happened at NBC regarding Matt Lauer and the covering up for Harvey Weinstein, and how they're basically protecting one predator's behavior to conceal the other ones. I like this show. I'm not even going to lie. It's really, really good. It's one of the best performances I've seen from Jennifer Aniston in a very long time. Same with Reese Witherspoon. And I know she's been on the producer side of things. I mean, I know a lot of people like Big Little Lies. It's not my cup of tea. But The Morning Show, oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. It's definitely inspired from the recent events regarding NBC. And considering everything that's happening there, it's not good publicity for NBC for that specific reason. Now, the reason why I'm saying that show is basically the microcosm for what's happening with society is because Steve Carell in this show plays a character who was as much of a predator as Matt Lauer. The very first episode, so spoiler alert for those who haven't watched it yet, is basically the Matt Lauer character, Steve Carell's character, getting fired because someone reported him to their executives, and it got out that he was sexually harassing his female colleagues. Jennifer Aniston apparently knew nothing about it, and apparently none of the executives knew anything about it either, right? Reese Witherspoon's character, Bradley Jackson, right? She's the new hire for The Morning Show. She becomes Steve Carell's character's replacement. And while she's working there, she reminds me so much of Megyn Kelly, simply because she gets there and she interviews the woman who claims that Steve Carell assaulted her, right? She starts to ask questions. Well, what did the network know? And why is this the first they're hearing of it? Right? Is it the first that they're hearing of it? These are the journalistic questions that she starts to ask herself. Questions that we know Megyn Kelly was asking while sitting in the NBC studio. This is why I'm calling it a microcosm, right? Because what they're depicting in that show is not an isolated incident. It did not just occur at NBC, right? We're hearing that networks are protecting sexual predatory behavior. But why? What for? Who is influencing you? Who is making you make those decisions, right? I don't know if a lot of you heard, but the Project Veritas with Amy Robach, when it came out that they had the story on Jeffrey Epstein, that's another example. You have too many people in these powerful positions in networks, broadcast networks, protecting these guys. And for what? Who's influencing your decision? Right? Amy Robach went on and on about how she had a witness and the witness had pictures. She had firsthand testimony as to what Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and Jeffrey Epstein were up to as far as this human trafficking ring. But why not run the story? Right? Why not run it? Personally, I think that there's a couple of reasons. Number one, ABC was totally terrified that they would lose out on interviews. Amy Robach admitted to that in the Project Veritas video. She completely admitted to it. Second, who was running for the presidency in 2016? Who was? Hillary Clinton. So any story that made Bill look worse than he already did would not have helped Hillary's campaign in any way. And because everyone had assumed that she would be the president of the United States, running the story wasn't much of a very good idea. Now, was it? But that doesn't matter, like, at all. Amy Robach, who was it on Fox News? I want to say, what is her name? Ainsley, the blonde chick that sits on Fox and Friends in the middle of the two men in the morning. Yeah, she basically gave Amy Robach a cop-out. Oh, she's a mother. She has 2 daughters. She basically folded with ABC. She basically folded. Because why is it that Ronan Farrow said, screw NBC, I'll go to a newspaper across the street and they'll run my story, which they did. And he had less than what Amy Robach had. Well, maybe not less. I'd say they had as an equal amount, right? He had not just the victim, right? But he did have the recording of Harvey Weinstein. He did. He had all of that information. He took it across the street to a newspaper and they ran the story. Why didn't Amy Robach? So a cop out to Ainsley for trying to give her said cop out because she's a reporter. And if you're a mother of children, of daughters, then yeah, you should have just reported it. There were too many outlets for you to go to. If this were like the 30s where all you had was radio and you were a woman in this field, okay, I'd give that to you. In when did they have the story? 2015? Yeah, no, streaming was already a thing. You could have gone to one of the newspapers. You would still find a job as a journalist. Look at Lara Logan for crying out loud. You'd find the job. Look at Megyn Kelly for crying out loud. There was a job for you. You could have taken the story elsewhere. The victim trusted you to run the story. How many other little girls were human trafficked because you didn't run the story? How many? This is why I call it a microcosm, that show, the morning show, because it's not an isolated incident. It seems like it's happening all across the 4th estate, all across. And this is terrible. People need to be held to account. No one's being prosecuted. No one's being brought in for questioning. No one's getting arrested, but we know that they concealed the information. We know that they had a victim. We knew that the victim had pictures. She had firsthand information, not like this BS impeachment hearing that we're seeing where everything's, hearsay upon hearsay. Right? This isn't that. There's evidence. There's facts. There are things to back up these allegations, these accusations. It's not just hearsay. It's not BS. There is evidence. There are witnesses. So why not run the story? Why not ABC? It's a cop-out to give Amy Robach to say that, oh, she was worried about her job if she ran the story. That is a load. A load. I don't care what anybody says. Hi, Leonard. Thanks for joining. I don't care what anybody has to say about how Amy Robach was worried about her job. I don't care. ABC needs to be held to account, and Amy Robach needs to be brought in to testify. Who told you not to run the story? Who was the first executive to tell you not to run the story? That's the information we need to know. That is plain and simple. That is the information. And you know what's crazy? I'm not the only one who thinks that. I am not. I don't know if any of you really saw this interview that Megyn Kelly does. I don't know if you guys are following her on Instagram or on YouTube, but I am. The second she popped up on Tucker Carlson and said that she was thinking about getting back to work. I love that she's in charge of her own career and she's getting back out there. Her first interview was with the woman who was fired from CBS because ABC had accused her or used her as a fall guy for the person who released or leaked the video to Project Veritas, when the actual leaker still works there. Though the leaker has come out and said, yeah, that chick is not the one who leaked the video. I am. They found a cop out. They found a fall guy. That's what they call them in the news media industry, which is hilarious because that's what they call it in this show, the morning show with Jennifer Anniston and Reese Witherspoon. If something goes wrong there, they always have a fall guy. You're right. They are biased. But you know what, Leonard? I expected bias. I didn't expect the mainstream media to be fair as far as their news coverage on Donald Trump. I mean, we knew this going into his first 100 days of his presidency. I mean, just look at the coverage during his campaign, right? So I expected them not to be fair. I knew they would be biased, but that's not the problem here. The problem isn't their bias. The problem is that they are either concealing or enabling predatory behavior from these old ass men. And what for? Why are you covering up for them? That's the problem here. And no one's being held to account. But everything that I had been saying, oh my gosh, you guys, everything that I had been saying as far as what I wanted to happen next. I wanted investigations. I've been saying I wanted investigations. I've been saying this over and over again. I mean, straight up, almost all of my episodes, if they weren't about entertainment or social media, they were about the fourth estate and the failure of journalism. They just were. Every single one of them were about that. And what's so crazy is I had said what I wanted and then it happened. So I'm going to play you guys a video, right? I'm going to show you guys what I was saying way back when. Maybe not too far back, but, you know, not that long ago. So I'm just going to hit play for you guys on this, just so you can remember what I was saying.
Granted, debate her on certain issues, because there are things that I don't think she speaks enough of on, as far as healthcare, what she's going to do about immigration. All she does is combat the far left, and as far as being a conservative, sometimes that's enough combating the far left. Just to listen to her. Any of these networks, when it comes to the cover-up of Jeffrey Epstein, when it comes to the cover-up of Harvey Weinstein, who still, by the way, has not been sent to prison, but they send Bill Cosby to jail 2 days away from being in the grave. I mean, not to say that he didn't.
Hold on, folks. I'm going to find
it. She went to NBC and held them to account every single day that she was on their show, their network. Every single day, anytime there was an allegation against Matt Lauer.
Hold on. Gonna get to it.
You know, I knew they were biased.
Here it is.
I knew that they were becoming more opinionated than they were, you know, being bipartisan.
Yes, they did, Archie.
I knew that about them. And I knew a lot of people were saying a lot of things about Walt Disney and how Walt Disney himself was a pedophile, and you can see a lot of sexual innuendos and a lot of the things that are Disney. I hear people say stuff like that all the time. But when you hear that ABC, the company owned by Disney, is protecting a pedophile, that is bizarre. That's mind blown. You're Disney. It broke my heart when I was watching that project.
Right. Now, obviously, that's me going in about how I was feeling about the news about Jeffrey Epstein. That's when the Project Veritas video first broke. And the crazy thing is, I was saying that what I wanted to happen next? Investigations. I wanted that to happen. I want those to happen. I was saying it for months that an investigation needed to be had in the fourth estate. And the thing is, we knew about the cover-up about Matt Lauer. We knew about the cover-up of Harvey Weinstein. We knew all of that, right? But it was Tom Fitton's journalism, his reporting, as far as the involvement of the fourth estate and this BS hoax with Russia and the investigations into people associated with the Trump campaign and the lack of journalistic integrity when the same woman, Amy Robach, was interviewing Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. She's the same chick who interviewed Hunter Biden. And it was that interview that I said that we need an investigation into the fourth estate. We have all of these hearings about ridiculous I can't say that word because retarded apparently is offensive now, but we have hearings on the dumbest stuff ever. We turned the Intelligence Committee hearings into impeachment committee hearings. We have hearings on absolute nonsense. This is something that I want hearings on. But you know who came out on Megyn Kelly's show? You know who did? I'm going to tell you, minority leader Kevin McCarthy. He went on to Megyn Kelly's interview show on Instagram. And this is what he was saying about what he wanted to happen as far as ABC is concerned. This is what he had to say, which is awesome because I was saying it for months and I'm glad there was a congressman out there. And Archie, you are right. I put it out there into the universe. Ask and you shall receive, folks.
He hasn't told us what their evidence was at the time, but who knows? There may have been credibility problems with the witness not to.
Bullshit, there was. She had everything she needed.
And when they knew it, right? And you can't be news director for the nation sitting here.
I would want them to look at and go back and analyze. Did we miss something?
Did they miss something? That was nice. That was nice.
ABC.
Well, I think as a legislator,
you're right, because they can't read a damn transcript, Leonard.
I knowing this human trafficking, that it's a bipartisan issue, I think we should have hearings on it. Because
thank you.
We're talking about lives. We're talking about young women. We're talking about people who do not have a voice.
Right? Right? You heard it, folks. He said it. He wants hearings. He wants hearings. I want hearings. I need hearings. And you know what else I want? After those hearings happen, I want criminal referrals made to Attorney General Barr. I want criminal investigations. Because if there was a way to bypass Congress until we get Republicans in the House, I would in a heartbeat. I would in a heartbeat. Kevin McCarthy is a badass minority leader, Archie. He totally is. He totally is. At the end of the hearings, honestly, criminal referrals need to be made. The fourth estate must come down. It is not what it used to be. It isn't. I think it was you, Arshel, that when we were talking earlier today, when you were telling me about what's her name, Ann Coulter, and how she said that the one thing that Trump may be known for is the downfall of the fourth estate. You were so right. He is better than Paul Ryan. Ryan O'Ryan. That's funny. That's a good one. But yeah, you're right. He is. You know, and I understand that Megyn had to play devil's advocate, you know, but he was right. He's not looking to be the news president director of all mainstream media. He's not asking to be that. However, there does need to be some oversight for that particular pillar of culture when they are a huge part of policing our democracy. But if you are concealing evidence or withholding information about a case that cops don't have or are aware about, then yeah, open your damn mouths. You have all these platforms for what? For what? To not say anything? Your job is to let the American public know who the threat is and what we can do to stop it and how to hold them to account. That is your job as a journalist. You're not doing that, Amy Robach. It's so crazy. The same chick who's caught on Project Veritas is the same woman that interviewed Hunter Biden. Your credibility, Amy, is shot to hell. It's shot. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I didn't call you any names. I didn't call you out your name the way I do most of those women at The View. I'm trying to conceal the anger right now. But if Kevin McCarthy can make this happen, oh my gosh, he's phenomenal. Ask and you shall receive, because I've been saying it for such a long time. I have wanted investigations into the fourth estate since we found out that they were involved in sending information to who? Intelligence agencies, so they can investigate Trump officials connected to the campaign, his campaign in 2016. That's how long ago I've wanted investigations. I didn't even ask for those. I didn't even want those when the Ronan Farrow of the Harvey Weinstein story broke. It broke my heart because I really loved Hollywood, right? I mean, yes, the celebrities are far leftist, but I still love my movies. I still love to watch my television shows. And then to find out some of the actors and actresses and producers and directors that I love and some of the production companies that I enjoy so much, played a role in their BS, in a role in his BS, yeah, I fell out of love with that world. So much so that I kept saying to my sister, for that matter, that when we get to the place where we're producing or making film and television shows, I don't want nothing to do with Hollywood. That is how bad they hurt me when that Harvey Weinstein story came out. And even then, I didn't give two craps about investigations into the mainstream media, into NBC. I wasn't even asking for that. Not at all. Not even when Megyn Kelly popped up on Tucker Carlson. Not even then did I go on there and say things like, oh, no, I want hearings. You know, Megan's right. We need to have hearings on NBC. I wasn't even saying that then. It wasn't until the Hunter Biden and their quid pro quo nonsense against Trump where I was saying that there needs to be hearings and people in the fourth estate needed to be held to account. And we needed investigations and prosecutions and later on convictions. It wasn't until then. But then the Jeffrey Epstein Project Veritas video comes out, and then you learn about how Amy Robach is basically the Jennifer Aniston character, kind of, sort of, from the show, The Morning Show. This is why I call that show a microcosm, right? Because someone always knows. Who knew what when? Clearly you had the story back in 2015. Clearly you had all the evidence that you needed. Clearly you verified and verified and verified. Well, how do you know that they verified that, Asia? How do you know? The feds gave him a deal in the first place back in 2008. So you can't say that it's not verified when you know that there is a case. File your information request forms with the state of New York, find out the deal that he was given, and then bada bing, bada boom, I have a story. I have a victim who has pictures, for crying out loud. So not only did you have the 2008 deal that he got way back when, but you also had a victim with pictures and firsthand knowledge as to who raped her. I don't understand why you couldn't run the story. And then even still, when the bastard was arrested back in 18, 19, he was arrested in this year of 2019, right? Why didn't you run the story then? Because now he's being prosecuted for the very crimes that you had the story on. You could have said something then. You were the only ones with the information at that point. You could have ran the story then. But we're supposed to feel sorry for Amy Robach. Get the hell out of here with that BS. Amy, you folded. You claim that you are a mother of daughters. If these were your children, would you have sat on the story? Or would you have been any other mother popping up on any news media outlet that would let her speak and beg for anyone to help them find their child? Right? I commend Kevin McCarthy. I love Kevin McCarthy. And the thing is, he's not the only one in Congress. I can't remember the dude's name. I really, really don't. But he's another congressman, and he backs Congressman McCarthy's idea as to who and what needs to happen. Like, what needs to happen? Who needs to be brought in to testify? Amy Robach needs to be the first witness. Plain and simple. What did you know when? Because clearly we know you knew something back in 2015. Clearly you said in the video. That is the evidence right there. If I were an attorney prosecuting ABC, I'd walk into the courtroom. I'd play the Project Veritas case. That is my opening statement. I close with that. Jury, go deliberate. Go deliberate. Because that video, enough is enough to convict ABC in a court of public opinion. It just is. Now I need it done in a criminal courtroom so ABC executives can be held to account. People's heads are going to roll. People are going to lose their jobs. And Amy Robach should be the first one if she refuses to testify. It's starting to start pulling broadcast licenses. Losing viewers is not enough anymore. It was enough when all they were doing was peddling their opinion. Right? Everyone's entitled to their opinion. They keep calling themselves journalists, but the American people are smart enough to know that their opinion. So it doesn't even matter if they want to call themselves journalists. We know better than that. Their opinion is irrelevant. We know that they're opinion hosts, that they're not journalists anymore. Who gives a shit if they want to call themselves that? But losing viewers, losing money in advertising, that is not enough. It is not. Heads need to roll. licenses need to be pulled, and people need to go to jail. People damn sure need to go to jail. Start with the hearings. Start with the hearings, Minority Leader Kevin. Start there, and then start getting those criminal referrals, because it's not just ABC. Now, Megan asked him, will it stop there? Will it stop with ABC? Why not look into NBC? He said, if the information that we obtained through our first hearings send us to another location, then we're going to ask them the hard questions too. Megan replied, is that a yes? And he doubled down. Yes, that's a yes. If we find information of outside influence, whether they be political officials, royal officials, because Prince Andrew, or in-house officials making the decision to withhold that information or withhold the story from the American public, then yeah, we're going to put them on the stand. Yes, we're going to ask those questions. It needs to happen. You're right. It's long overdue. Long overdue. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, we have freedom of the press. Okay, that's an argument. And they'll probably use that in the hearing, right? If they have one, if and when they have one, we're going to keep putting it out there in the universe, because I said it and now Kevin McCarthy's talking about it. So we're going to keep putting that out there in the universe that these hearings happen. But I digress. Let's say that they do happen. What happens after that? There needs to be oversight. Someone needs to make sure that they're not withholding information. I don't give a damn what protections that they have as freedom of the press. You have an obligation and a duty to the American public to police our democracy. Give us a heads up if there's a threat anywhere with anyone. That is your job. And if you refuse to do your job, then we will pull your license. Where's the oversight? Everyone wants to, look over Facebook and YouTube and make sure they're not censoring us conservatives. And I appreciate those hearings, but let's call a spade a spade. Social media is not the only pillar of culture. They're not the ones policing major corporations. They're not the ones who police our government. They're not the ones who hold people to account in court of public opinion. That is the fourth estate. That is their job. And when they refuse to do it, what should happen? You should be fired. If I don't do my job correctly, I get written up. If I get written up more than 3 times, I'm getting fired. Why is that not the case here? Why is that not regulation with the fourth estate? Every pillar of culture needs to be regulated. Every pillar of culture needs oversight. Now, I'm not saying that, we need to have a whole bunch of conservatives on that hearing. I'm fair game. I think it needs to be equal. But I damn sure don't think that the problem should be overseeing itself, because that's what we're having. That's what we're having. NBC, when they had the issue with Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer, NBC officials investigated their own problem. That's not good enough. When Fox News had their issue with Roger Ailes, before they got an outside investigation, what happened? Roger Ailes had his own HR investigate. That wasn't good enough. It is not good enough. You need outside investigators. I want heads to roll. I want firings. I want prosecutions. And I want convictions. In like 3 years, I want ABC off the air if this behavior continues. And if we find out that Jeffrey Epstein isn't the only bastard that they've been protecting, oh yeah, come off the air. You need to come off the air. NBC, we find out that Harvey Weinstein and Matt Lauer aren't the only 2 predators that you were protecting, and that there are more people that you were covering up for, yeah, your license must be pulled. Executives must go to jail, because now you are complicit in the crimes of which that they are committing. Because how many more people were victims because you didn't snitch? That is your job, is to snitch. You find out what the problem is, who caused it, and then you snitch on live camera. That is your job. That is your job. Plain and simple, folks. Plain and simple. You are right, Leonard. You are right. The media goes out of their way to lie about Trump to the American people and the people who support Trump. You're so right. They do. They do. They do. We want fair regulations that tell the truth and don't censor. You would think the media would be for that. You would think. You would think. But you know what? You know what? Mark Levin said it. We don't have freedom of the press anymore. They don't do their jobs. They don't. Like at all. At all. I want every reporter who knew the information on Jeffrey Epstein, who knew the information on Harvey Weinstein, and any sexual predator in any network or any news organization for that matter, or any media, whether it be entertainment, social media. I don't give a shit which one it is. Like, I don't care. Whichever pillar, whichever predator, arrest them. And who knew what when? You bring them to testify, because if you find out that it's all of them who are to blame, all of them who are liable, all of them who are responsible or complicit in those crimes, yeah, all of them must be convicted. All of them must go to jail. I don't give a rat's ass about freedom of the press then, because the freedom of the press are the ones who are complicit in the crime. Now, with that being said, I'm going to bring on my twin sister, because I know she has a lot to say as to, you know, what's been happening as far as the fourth estate is concerned. So Archie, I'm sending you the link now. You click it, you come on, and we'll talk a little bit about what you think. First, I want to know about your opinion as to what you thought of the morning show, because so far it's one of my favorite shows this year. Not that many things have come out and have been good. In my opinion, it's because everything's been so far leftist, but let's see what happens. I sent it to you in Messenger, so hopefully, you know, my little bubble head popped up on your device and you know to click it and just enter the broadcast, because I want to know what you think about the morning show and if you agree or not with everything that's been happening. Ah, there you are, at the stream.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, you.
Okay, so first.
Yeah, go ahead.
First, I want to know, what do you think about the show, The Morning Show, with Jennifer Anniston?
Yeah, I love the show. I do love it. I won't lie. It doesn't feel like a guilty pleasure, which is, you know, really good. I do love that. The thing about Steve Carell's character, when you watch, you know, without giving out spoilers, when you watch the first episode,
I don't think anybody is going to be watching it.
You're funny. But when you watch the first episode and you look at Steve Carell's character,
he was funny.
He was funny. In moments where it shouldn't be, it is. You know, just that part where he's screaming, "I'm not a rapist." It shouldn't be funny. But Steve Carell, he's very funny. That was funny. But when you look at his character, you know, when you watch the first episode, you're thinking he's going to be Matt Lauer, right? But then as you get further and further into the season, you start to feel bad for him, because it does start to make you think, because they do question about the Me Too movement, how it's going after good men, decent men. Not that his character is a decent man, you know, but they're kind of going after him because he's a man who cheated on his wife. And the only reason why he was fired is because he broke the morality clause, which was supposed to be a joke, but in actuality, it's not. They fired him because of the morality clause. And now as he goes around the rest of his days trying to figure out what he's going to do with his life, people are calling him out, calling him a sexual predator, they're calling him a rapist, when really he was fired because of his sexual relationships. He cheated on his wife, he wasn't a rapist. Because when you see him, between him and Martin Short talks about raping women and how, oh, women deserved it. And you see the, you know, how uncomfortable Steve Carell is when he watches it. When you see Jennifer Aniston, how she wasn't aware of how bad it was, but she knew that there were relationships.
Do you think her character knew?
No, I think she knew he was cheating on his wife because, you know, she slept with him when she was married, when he was married. You know, she knew he was cheating on his wife. She didn't know how bad it was. Because it's like, honestly, if you weren't cheating on your wife, then nobody would know about this. But what I really appreciated about Steve Carell's character, honestly, is that they did ask the question, you know, is the Me Too movement helping or hurting? Because they talked about it coming in different waves. So the first wave of the Me Too movement went after powerful men. So men like, obviously, Bill Clinton got thrown in there. Harvey Weinstein was thrown in there. Roger Ailes, really powerful men. Matt Lauer was thrown in there. And then we started going after men like Ryan Seacrest. All they had to do was just say his name. Me Too. Yeah.
So do you think Steve Carell's character is more like a Ryan Seacrest than a Matt Lauer?
Well, not so much Ryan Seacrest, because again, they just threw his name out there and he wasn't guilty of it. I think Steve Carell is just a cheater. I think in the show, The Morning Show, Steve Carell is just a cheater who was fired because him cheating broke the morality clause.
Right.
The problem is with the Me Too movement being a big thing. Well, that's the thing though. When you look at the women, I mean, even in the show The Bold Type, when the guy, I can't remember the character's name, but he wasn't aware that because of his position at work, that the girl that he was dating felt a kind of way. She felt pressured. Oh, well, if you stay over the night, I'll read your stuff. He wasn't trying to come off as, I'm this, do what I'm telling you kind of dude. He's like, no, you're a beautiful woman. I'm a guy. We just had drinks. Let's have a good night. And for the woman, she felt uncomfortable. She felt as if she couldn't say anything. And they had that conversation, and he realized that you had to have a conversation. I agree with you, Leonard. I can't stand it either, because now they're just man bashing. It's one thing to go after men like Roger Ailes and Matt Lauer, because here's the thing, Matt Lauer was a rapist. Roger Ailes was a rapist. Harvey Weinstein, well, not was, they're still alive. They are rapists. But when you look at Steve Carell, he's not.
Right? And how NBC knew about him and how they basically covered for Harvey to protect him, right? What do you think about, the ABC Project Veritas? We don't talk about that when we were on. So what do you think?
Couple things. One, it breaks my heart, but that shouldn't surprise me because they just keep breaking my heart every other day. Hollywood, ABC, the rest, they just keep, and I just got, my Disney Plus. So I feel a kind of way. I'm about to go watch Remember the Titans and freaking Anastasia and Mary Poppins, and then you go to YouTube and you look at Project Veritas and you're like, damn, Disney, damn, ABC. Yes, for Storm Teddy. Yes, for Storm Teddy. I love my Star Wars. Well, not the new ones, the original.
No,
Disney, man. I got Disney Plus and everything. I'm watching these movies, and it breaks my heart. And every time I watch Mary Poppins, I'm like, oh gosh, guys, killing me. They're absolutely killing me. But as far as Project Veritas is concerned, I think, what's her name? Amy Robach. Yeah, she's a punk. She's a punk because, don't get me wrong, I love me some Fox, but the fact that she said, oh, well, she has children and she's a woman, that's a cop-out because Megyn Kelly has children and she still went after Matt Lauer. Okay, yes, she still went after Matt Lauer. And she got fired for it and was off of television for a year to go up against the bad guy. Like, Holly Weird. I love it. I'm using it. I'll send you a copyright letter. But I did comment. I'm like, listen, at the end of the day, Fourth Estate, they are predator protectors. That's a movie that we should write because, hello. Hollywood's not going to do it. They won't. Well, Aaron Sorkin might because he did do Newsroom. But, they need a fall guy. But what I find to be most fascinating here is that to say that they couldn't go live with this story, which is highly irritating. Oh, we couldn't go with this story, blah, 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 blah. No, because look at what happened with Christine Blasey Ford and Kavanaugh. She had nothing. Didn't know where, didn't know when, but she knows it's him. She's got all this BS, nothing, no corroborating evidence, no proof, no burden beyond of nothing. She's had absolutely nothing. But there were hearings on it. There were hearings when she had absolutely nothing. They had more with Weinstein. They had more with Bill Cosby. And Bill Cosby's the only one that's been arrested, and rightfully so.
Convicted.
Right, and convicted, rightfully so. Harvey Weinstein hasn't been convicted, and that's unbelievable. Jeffrey Epstein is a sex trafficker. You had more evidence on Epstein than Christine Blasey Ford had on Kavanaugh. But you put his name through the ringer, and again, the Me Too movement, they threw his name out there, said that he was, guilty of all this crap, and he had evidence to say that he was innocent. He was innocent. You look at Jeffrey Epstein, you had photos. You had a victim. Well, I won't call her a victim. I'll call her a survivor. If you go based off the morning show, if you watch it, you'll know why that's important.
From 2008 that showed that Jeffrey Epstein got a sweet deal for raping a child. So they had something to go on.
Look what was happening in 2008. Who was running for president in 2008? Who was going up against who? It was Obama versus Hillary Clinton. It was 2008. And then what happened in 2016? Well, 2015. Who was running for president? Hillary Clinton. And what? We're supposed to believe that because they were trying to get an interview with Kate and what the hell's his name?
Plausible, but honestly,
I'm like, this is America. I'm like, I'm so over this whole, they're married and they're the prince and the duchess. And no, this is America. We don't do monarchies here. I don't give two craps about the monarchy over in Europe. I want the truth. If Jeffrey Epstein is guilty, get him. And they nearly had him. And yet again, we've got somebody else dying mysteriously connected to The Clintons. And this is in the 21st century, people. This don't make no kind of damn sense that they have more evidence on Epstein than they did for Christine Blasey Ford. They had more on Bill Cosby, and he got convicted.
So what's your opinion on the hearings that McCarthy wants?
I love it. I do love the idea because, well, first of all, let me just say I love Kevin McCarthy. He's a really strong minority leader. He's a really strong leader. He's got a lot to say, and I do appreciate him and the work that he's doing. And a lot of what those two Democrats and the Republican caucus are doing for the country. But as far as wanting the hearings, I love the idea. I don't know what's going to happen, because as much as I would love for there to be some kind of justice, the hearings aren't going to be enough. Trump came up with a hashtag fake news. It took a hit to their ratings, CNN, MSNBC. Yeah, exactly. It's not enough. I need more than that. And, Ann Coulter, like I said, like you mentioned earlier, she did say that one of the things that's coming from this administration is that, he's going after the fourth estate. He's going after the media, and that's good. And hopefully we can actually have it replaced with something with more integrity. And that's actually beginning to happen with Laura Logan, going to Fox Nation with her docuseries, Megyn Kelly. Independent journalism is where it's going to be at. And since streaming is taking over anyway, and it's pissing the fourth estate and Hollywood off anyway, then I say let's do it. Let's get this hearings. Let's see what's going to happen. But I need consequences, because here's the thing. The problems that we're dealing with today were problems way back then, because fake news didn't just start in the 21st century. Reagan had to deal with it. Bush had to deal with it. Obama even had to deal with it, because that whole, he's not a real American. And who put that out there? That was Hillary Clinton. Let's just remember that. This is something that has been here for decades. This is a problem that should have been here while you and I were still in diapers, just like the Clintons. It needed to be dealt with while we were in diapers. Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, Roger Ailes, all these predators, Matt Lauer, needed to have been dealt with while we were in diapers, not while we were growing up. It doesn't make any sense that we're dealing with it today, which to say something about the generations that come before us, and how I'm talking about like in Fourth Estate in Hollywood, how they didn't do anything. All of a sudden, there's all this outrage. Oh, well, me too, and he's got to go. But now you're pointing fingers at men like Ryan Seacrest, who's innocent.
Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein. They weren't there.
They weren't there. And look at Robert De Niro. He goes to the Tonys and he says, F Trump. You look at all these other Hollywood elites and they want to say, oh, but he's a racist and he's a misogynist and he's all these terrible things. But Robert De Niro, you were hanging out with Harvey Weinstein with those, with those women, with those people that he probably sex trafficked. Say that again?
Do you think he was involved with Jeffrey Epstein?
I think it's easy to lump him with the other predators. It is easy. It is incestuous. It is incestuous. But really, if he had just been like Tom Hanks and stayed home and not gone to those parties, he would have been fine. But no one goes after Tom Hanks for that, right? They don't go after Tom Hanks for staying home with his wife. But they'll go after McCain, though. Oh, well, it's ridiculous. They're ridiculous. But not McCain, excuse me, Mike Pence.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't go to parties. He doesn't like to stay out late. He doesn't like to do anything without his wife, which, when you look at the morning show, had Steve Carrell been like Mike Pence, he wouldn't have been fired in the first place. This whole, you're being accused of sexual harassment, it can go either way, because here's the thing. In the show, you haven't really seen all of the women that he was with. And one of the women that he was with, who played the captain in Luke Cage, who I just absolutely love, that was a consensual relationship.
Yeah, that was
a consensual relationship. But he also had the lock button. He also had the lock button in his dressing room. So it's like, I believe some women might have consented and others did not. I think he was feeling himself, thought he could just do whatever he wanted, not realizing he couldn't. But he also realized just because he was a man without morals doesn't mean he was a rapist like Martin Short. But just because you're not as bad of a predator as Martin Short in the show, because Martin Short, I'm not saying that he is, I'm saying that the character that he plays, I don't know his name, guys, so don't just think that I mean Martin Short. I mean the character. I'm saying, just because he's not as bad as Roger Ailes and Matt Lauer and Harvey Weinstein doesn't mean that he's still not a predator. Like, listen, just because you're not raping women and you're going around pinching them doesn't mean that you're still not an asshole for that. You are. You are.
Oh, man. I love it when you come on, Archie.
I apologize for my French, you guys. I'm not nice. They irritate me. Because here's the thing about it, right? So I told this to a friend of mine while I was at work the other day, because she's an actor, she's a SAG actress, and I remember telling her, I'm like, listen, when I was a kid, I wanted to grow up and be a medical examiner. Hey, if it was me, then I probably could have told you how Epstein died. But, I went to a Broadway show, fell in love with theater and thought this was going to be my life, fell in love with movies and said this was going to be my life. And then as an adult, you look at Hollywood and they're filled with a cabal of sexual crimes and violence. And they're the first ones to say, me too, you're a racist. But then you look at their work and all the violence against women is in the movies. They've got Black people playing slaves and they got Black people playing the help. Yet you want to go ahead and call conservatives all these types of things. You want to point the finger at the men and say, oh, but you're a misogynist. But we all saw Showgirls. We all saw that movie.
Oh, man.
We all saw Showgirls.
I had said that movie was terrible, right? Thanks, Leonard. I had said that movie was awful. It's the worst movie ever made.
It was awful when I first watched it.
When the Harvey Weinstein story broke.
Same here. For real. I don't know if you remember this, but you and I were kind of watching a bunch of Whoopi Goldberg Academy Award monologues. And this was the 90s because Pierce Brosnan was still James Bond. And she had said something about how she was talking trash about Showgirls and the audience felt the kind of way. And she went, hello, I haven't seen this many Poles mistreated since Schindler's List. I busted out laughing because she's like, right, the movie was horrible. But then when you get, cut like 20 years later.
No one watching that movie believed that that's what Hollywood or the
because I didn't believe it. I'm like, but here's the thing though, right? Here's what's interesting. Because it was easy to not believe Showgirls because of my love for Hollywood, but I knew about Marilyn Monroe. And chances are, if you know about Marilyn Monroe, then you kind of knew the casting couch was an open secret. The rumor is Elizabeth Taylor, that's how she got the role for Cleopatra. I'm not saying that's what happened. Just saying that was a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not. I hope to God it's not, because then that'll just make me. I mean, she's still phenomenal, and she got the Academy Award for it. But
here's the deal about the casting couch, right? The casting couch always had this stigma of consent. It always had.
It didn't make the behavior right though, because it's still a kind of sexual harassment in a sense.
But
because it's like if you're using because Zanuck. He was the lead. He was hysterical. Fox, Zanuck. He was running Fox, and we know what happened with Marilyn Monroe. It's how she got most of her roles. She was a phenomenal actress, But listen, Joan Collins, she was up for the role of Cleopatra, and she didn't get it, but Elizabeth Taylor did. Now, I'm not saying that means anything that she, but because you start to ask yourself, oh well, since all this is coming out of Hollywood. Is there a possibility? And the fact that it is kind of sad because again, there are people who look up to them and say to themselves,
now it's coming from the state. I'm like,
no, honestly, I don't even think it's not that it's not Hollywood. It's always been Hollywood. The problem is it's not in the dark anymore.
Hollywood. My point is it's not just Hollywood, right?
You're right.
It's also in the fourth estate. And I'm like, give it 10 years.
Right? Because that's the shocker. That's the shocker. Yeah, you did not expect that kind of behavior from the news because they are the news, right? You think because they're the news that they would know better. It's like people who, expose that kind of behavior should not be doing that terrible should not be,
Your job is to fix that kind of behavior.
Right, not doing it your damn self. It's like, projection much. But then you look at them how they're protecting each other.
Commit crimes like drug dealing and things like that. Like you arrest people for those crimes, and now they're finding out that you're guilty of the same thing.
It's unbelievable. Projection much. Yeah, the cliche, you point a finger at somebody, you got three pointing back at you. Yep. Well, that's what happened with the left. They pointed the finger and they called Fox and conservatives, all these other things. And what's happened? They got three fingers pointed back at them. NBC, Fox. Exactly. They got three fingers pointed at them. Exactly. Point the finger at everybody else.
Folks, Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Matt Lauer. Right. It'll be a few more.
And not one of them have been convicted. Now, Epstein, obviously, because, he was murdered. He was murdered. And frankly, I think it was by the Clintons. There's no way. I mean, how many people have up and went to jail because they refused to testify? And this guy he was going to sing like a canary, I think, because he'd still be alive if he would say, no, I'm going to take my time in jail rather than, I think he was going to testify because he's dead.
Barr, though, that's the thing. Because if he stays alive, if Attorney General Barr, if that's stayed alive, Barr would have prosecuted every single person who knew about this.
I appreciated the outrage. I will not lie, because I thought if we were not going to get Hillary Clinton for her email scandal, if we weren't going to get her for the sale of the Uranium One deal, if we weren't going to get her for all the other crimes that she was responsible for before you and I were even conscious, then the Epstein thing might have done something. I mean, at least that was what I was hoping for. But then he died. And that's just another thing that she can put on her list of things that she's not going to go down for. Here's the thing about no consequences, which is why I'm concerned about the hearings if these do happen.
As long as there's criminal referrals, I'm fine. Because criminal referrals criminal charges.
Well, yeah, I hear you on that one, but look at Harvey Weinstein and Harvey Weinstein's still walking around. He's going to nightclubs and, just because he's still walking around free. So just because there will be hearings and, we might actually get some info as to who knew what and when and why they didn't report what, doesn't mean that there's going to be actual consequences. Now, for me, I'm like, listen, when mommy tells you to do something and you don't do it and you get your behind whooped, now you know not to do it again. With the Fourth Estate and Hollywood, they don't get that lesson. They're not getting that because they go out there and they commit the crimes over and over and over again. They'll get arrested and then they go right back out there and they do it again. They get arrested and they go right back out there and they do it again. It's like, if this were anybody else, and if the left want to play, identity politics and all this crap, if this were a black man, because Bill Cosby, he would have already been arrested. He would have already been arrested and convicted. He would have been convicted because Bill Cosby, rapist, convicted. Now, I'm not saying that, because he's Bill Cosby, he shouldn't have gone to jail. No, he should go to jail. You rape women, you go to jail. This is a crime. In the Bible, you get killed for that. It's like, hello, when a man rapes a woman, he is to die. That is the Bible there, okay? So Bill Cosby being in jail, that was mercy. That is mercy. That's man's law right there. But Harvey Weinstein didn't get that. Jeffrey Epstein didn't get that. Well, he got death, but not because he was a rapist, but because he was about to be a snitch. He died for the wrong thing. I agree, Leonard. I am sick of Hillary Clinton. Now, because I'm not going to be that kind of crude, I'm not going to use that nickname that I gave her.
I know.
But it's Hillary, see you next Tuesday, Clinton.
See you next Tuesday, Ing.
Right. See you next Tuesday, Ing.
Thank you so much. It's a great way to end on a laugh. Don't go anywhere. We're going to close out and we're going to talk some more. Okay?
You got it. I'll be here.
Awesome. You send me your mic real quick.
You got it.
Awesome. You guys, that is my time. My name is Asia Branch. I am your host of Speak On It. Please join back in next week, Thursday at 8 o'clock. I will be here for you all. We won't be talking about, any more Project Veritas with Amy Robach. There's going to be a whole new subject. It might just be impeachment, but honestly, I don't really want to give that hearing too much coverage if I don't have to. I see you shaking your head, no, Archie. No, I don't. I hear you. I don't. But we'll figure it out. Whatever happens, happens, and that's what will happen on the next week's show, Thursday, 8 o'clock. My name is Asia Branch, host of Speak On It, and I will talk with all of you latest. Good evening. Have a good one.